Hello and welcome back to the water. My name is Beast. Today we're back with depression, apparently. I don't know why I had to be immediately shut the fuck up like that. Maybe I'll have to try to stay a bit upright today because my fucking chest is in pain. Anyways, let's just fucking get going. Hey, what up, Isuzu? You said you weren't angry, but it's plain as day to me that you are.
先輩の目は節穴ですね。
Her tone was also snappy. It's like she went back to how she was about the time we first met. You can't forgive Chinami no matter what.
だから、ちなみさんなんてどうでもいいんです。
You can't forgive me either.
なんで先輩が出てくるんですか?
Feels like you're trying to distance yourself from me. Maybe I was also feeling a bit anxious since I worked that hard to shorten our distance to that of a couple. Now we're starting to grow again.
違います。先輩は悪くないです。先輩は私の恋人です。
Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you about to go on without me had I not shown up? Are you distancing yourself from me because of Chinami? Because I'm her brother.
そんなこと。
If you're with me, it's inevitable that you'll also come into contact with Chinami. There's no possible way you'd be able to avoid her. And I'm not gonna keep Chinami at a distance, even if you ask me to. Isuzu stopped dead in her tracks.
意地悪です。
Sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like I was blaming you or anything.
じゃあ。
But here's the thing. If you were to ask me whether I value you or Chinami more, I wouldn't be able to honestly choose. Her shoulders started to tremble.
先輩、私のこと。
I love you. Of course I do. This is different.
先輩は私の恋人なのに。
And Chinami is my little sister. You can't compare apples to oranges here. I love each of you in different ways. Isuzu left me behind and ran off. God, I'm such a moron. He came in wanting to clear this up and never forgive Chinami, but now it only made it worse. Couldn't deny that I might have been a little frustrated over this. After all, it was Mayor who destroyed the telescope, not Chinami. Of course, though, Isuzu wouldn't believe that, even for a second. To be honest, I was actually relieved that it was gone. It was maybe the first necessary step for her to take to eventually put the starry sky of her childhood behind her and look at the sky of Ibarigasaki. The very fact that I was taking relief in something that was only causing her pain just made me irritated beyond belief.
葵さん、今日は部活出てくれるかな。今週はまだ一度も出席していませんよね。科学館のプラネタリウム、意味なかったのかな。
It did, I promise she'll start coming again soon. It was my fault entirely that you didn't show up the past 2 days.
昼休みに葵さんと一緒になったら、今日の部活誘ってみようと思ったんだけどな。
Isuzu was nowhere to be found at the courtyard. That too was likely my fault.
コンクールの準備、みんなで進めたいもんね。葵さんの欠席が少なくなれば、姉さんが生徒会を説得して屋上の常時開放を勝ち取ってくれると思いますし、オーロラの写真もみんなで撮りたいな。続きは部活にしてそろそろ教室を出ませんか？そうだね。部室で岡泉先輩が待ってるかも。
The three of us left our classroom.
先輩。
Isuzu was in the hallway. This was probably the first time she'd come to the second year's floor.
先輩。葵さん、ちょうどよかった。これから部活だけど、一緒に行かない？もしかして、迎えに来てくれたんですか？いえ、
Do you need to talk with one of us?
はい。私たちじゃなくて？
She extends her hand and grasps my uniform quietly.
これに。
The thing treatment goes on.
先輩、一緒に帰りませんか？よかったら、これから。
Suzu shifted her gaze from me to the floor repeatedly while also opening and closing her mouth.
デートとか。
Aso was the most surprised of us all. Due to Aso being so terribly startled, this also had an effect on Isuzu.
はい、いえ、おめでとうございます。お二人とも。
And Kosame had already given us her blessing. Isuzu?
ダメでしょうか。
Her eyes, filled with uneasiness, seemed to cling to me. Before that, what are you going to do about Jinami?
ちなみさんは関係ないじゃないですか。
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it because you ran away from her that you were waiting here?
そんなこと。
Well, that's not why, but sorry, we'll have to put off the date. Isuzu's face went visibly pale. But anyways, Isuzu, are you coming to... Before I could finish with club, she ran off.
ようちゃんが葵さんをサボらせた。
Wait here. Why does it come to that?
違うんですか？
Probably not.
それと小ヶ坂さん、葵さんを名前で呼ぶようになったんですね。デートって言ってたけど、どういうこと？
A barrage of questions were thrown my way. If I went to club, I can easily imagine the vast amount of effort required to continue dodging their questions. Sorry, also, I think I'm gonna go on home.
なんで？部活は？
Sorry, but not today. Something important came up. As much of an excuse as it sounded, it was the honest truth.
葵さんを追いかけるんですか？
I'd love to, but it's something else.
追いかけたいとは思っているんですね。
Come on, stop suspecting. Dog mode initiated. Also came off like she might bite at me at any moment. Well, it's that the year round. I dashed off.
アスホさん、私たちはこっちですよ。リボンをリードみたいに引っ張らないで。小雨ちゃん。
Leaving the rest of Kosame, I headed to take care of my business.
ようさん。
As you were waiting for Aunt China to get dinner ready, Suza restlessly came
今
up
日
to me.
はずっとちなみさんを見てませんけど。
She went to school like always and came home like always. She also came down here once before you showed up.
今はどこにいるんですか？
Her room. I'll call her when dinner's
お
ready.
部屋で落ち込んでるとか。
No, that's not it. It's just that she's got something to do.
宿題やってるんですね。
I never encountered Jinami doing her homework in my whole life, but let's leave it at that. Well, something like that. Is she trying to fix the fucking telescope? I don't want to worry her
ちな
needlessly.
みさん、お姉ちゃんのこと怒ってますか？
She's not, I promise. She wasn't angry when the telescope broke down either, right?
はい。でも、ずっと黙ったままでした。
Last night on the way back from the rooftop, no one spoke a word. Don't worry, everything will be back to usual soon. I already told you this. Already told you so this morning, didn't I?
は
Uza's
い。
expression remained
りょう
clouded.
さんもさっきまで部屋にいたんですか？
Well, yeah, and I plan to go back right after dinner. I assumed the same went for Chinami. Sorry that I can't keep you company.
それは全然。しのさんもいますし、それよりお姉ちゃんが。
She's not coming again?
はい。誘ったんですけど、行かないって。
At that moment I heard my cell phone ringing. It was a message from Isuzu.
これから私の部屋に来ませんか？二人で夕飯を食べませんか？今作ってる途中なんです。しのさんほど上手じゃありませんけど、よかったら食べてみてくれませんか？マヨネーズは使ってませんから安心してください。それに今日はあんまりお話ししてないから先輩とお話ししたいです。
I replied to her with the following message. Sorry, but I can't come.
もしかしてお姉ちゃんですか？
Yeah.
お姉ちゃん気が変わって一緒に食べるとか。
No, it seems like she's preparing dinner over there herself.
そうですか。
I didn't receive any messages in response from Isuzu. Upon leaving the house, Isuzu came running up to me. Oh, pretty rare to see you running. I mean, always taking your time is like part of your identity.
茶化さないでください。
She came to a halt in front of me and then shot her gaze down towards the pavement. Oh, almost forgot. Good morning,
お
Isuzu.
はようございます。
Did you come running here after you saw me walk out?
いえ、偶然です。
Timing-wise, it was purely inconceivable that she hadn't been waiting for me. If I'd been together with Jean and me, I imagine she might not have shown up at all.
ゆうべは
Yeah, sorry about that. I had something to do.
用事だったんですね。だったら仕方ないですね。
Her smile, all too feeble. Seeing it made me all the more aware of the fact that I'd hurt her.
じゃあ今夜は私の部屋。
Why can't you come over and eat at our place? I really want you there with us. She seemed to struggle. She seemed struggling to answer.
私の部屋じゃダメですか？
Can I take Jean and me along then too? Suzu seemed really lonely as well last night. Suzu appeared really afflicted.
そろそろ学校行きませんか？
No. The rejecting manner I'd forced myself into assuming made me sick to my stomach. Jean and me should be here soon. I want to wait for her. I feel bad for leaving her behind yesterday, so I gotta make up for it this time.
私は
After biting her lip, she
私
said,
は先に行きます。
Alright.
先輩は
I just said I'd wait.
私と
Sorry. It was an empty
わ
apology.
かりました。
Okay.
先に行きます。
See you later. I saw her off, careful not to let anything show in my attitude. Maybe that came off to her as rejection. That I was putting distance between us. Of course, it was only natural that she'd think that. Isuzu? As I was about to pass the school gate, I noticed Isuzu standing there nearby. She raised her head after registering me, but immediately cast her eyes down to her feet. What are you doing here?
先輩を待ってたから。
She muttered quietly.
昼休みは中庭でも待ってたのに来ないから。
Something kind of came up during lunch
ゆ
break.
うべと同じ用事ですか？
Pretty much. What about club?
休みます。
The others really want you to come, though. Well, whatever. I'm gonna get going now.
私も
She's frightened out of her mind. She couldn't shake the fear that rejection was waiting for her.
一緒に帰っても。
Yeah, sure. I had no reason to turn her down. Just going home together was no trouble at all, and yet...
ありがとうです。
This hurts my soul! That smile of hers almost gave me the impression she was about to cry. Come over tonight if you can, alright? To reach my home, I said that to Isuzu. Later then.
待って、
As I was about to enter the house, she stopped me with her
もう
words.
帰るんですか?
Yeah, see you at dinner. Bye.
待ってください。
Her shaky voice sounded like a scream.
帰らないでください。まだそばにいてください。一緒がいいです。帰っちゃ嫌です。
Seeing her so emotionally distraught like this, I had this overwhelming urge to take her in my arms. But I resisted at the last moment. We'll see each other again soon enough at dinner.
嫌です。先輩と二人がいいです。二人きりがいいです。
Are you saying that because you don't want to see Jean and me? Isuzu, I'm repeating myself here, but...
何してもいいですから。
She drowns out my words.
何してもいいですから。私に何しても。エッチなことも。
I was rendered
エッ
speechless.
チなことしてもいいですから。二人じゃないとできませんから。だから。
Listen to what you're saying. I tapped her head. You don't have to force yourself to say things like that.
無理じゃな、先輩だからしてもいいんです。私に何したって、エッチなことしたって。だから今夜は私の部屋。
No. She caught her breath in shock. I can't. I have something to do. The trembling intensified.
その用事って
Nothing more important.
私より
Can't compare apples to oranges. After all, there's something I've got to see through together with Jean and me. Suzu's eyes widened. Tears welled up at the corners of her eyes.
ちなみさん、先輩の大切な妹が、そんなちなみさんも私は傷つけた。先輩が大切だって思うちなみさんを傷つだから私先輩に嫌い。
Ah! Pain! Last bit went out due to her sobbing. In that moment I realized just how thoughtlessly I'd been. Wait, Isuzu, that's not what I... She turned around. She gave me no time to stop her either. She entered the house right away, whereupon I heard the sound of the door being locked. Pondered whether to ring at the door. Thought about possibly sending her a message, but I realized that neither of those things would do me a damn thing. God damn it. Absolutely pathetic. There must have been a better way to go about it. I could only loathe myself going about this in such a like such a fucking dumbass. Around now, everyone should be sitting around the dining table at yours place. Everyone except Isuzu, who is sitting here all alone. She desperately holds back the tears that are welling up in her eyes. She tells herself she wouldn't cry. She has always been alone, so what need is there to be sad? Solitude has always been her only friend. This should be normal for her. Not a single thing has changed. So then why, she asks herself. Why does she feel so lonely? She only knows the answer to that question. It's because of him, Osaka Yo. It's all his fault. Because he chose to leave her.
先輩が私のそばにいてくれないから。
She feels a mix of pain, sadness, and loneliness, while at the same time also feeling frustrated over her own emotions, unable to forgive herself for feeling that way. She starts to feel just miserable. There's no doubt in her mind that Yo has come to hate her after the harsh words she said to Jean and me. Thinking so makes her sink into depression. She can't bear that. She'd be better off dying.
どうして
Things like these would have been inconceivable for her past self. It's like she has become a different person. Made as wide what it means to fall in love. Before she knew it, he surpassed her telescope. Even the starry sky of her childhood now pales in comparison to that boy. So what she feels now is a pain much worse than the pain she felt from her telescope breaking. She fears the thought of having to go on living without him.
そっか私
It's the same as back then, she thinks. Same as when we moved to Ibarigaseki. The same as when I got separated from my home. This feeling of being tormented by separation. Though maybe this far exceeded the pain from back then.
でもだったら
The single thing that differs from last time is that she has a path out. She couldn't do anything about her parents' job transfer as a kid, but this time she also power to change things. She can resolve the situation on her own. All she needs to do is apologize to Jean and me. One simple action would fix everything. She's sure that would also make Yo return to her. Just a simple apology is all it would take. Everything would be back to normal. She understands that full well. She does, yet it feels so impossible.
できないよ
No matter how strongly she thinks to herself she needs to do it, it doesn't change anything.
わからないんだよ
She has no idea how to go about something like that. Someone like her who has always up until this point gone on rejecting friends simply wouldn't know. Her past self from back when she used to have friends so far away now she can't recall anything. More than anything, she doesn't know if she could say the right words. In class, Isuzu has been ignoring Jean and me. Likewise, Jean and me has been doing the same. The two haven't exchanged a single word since the day her telescope broke apart. Jean and me has to be upset. Isuzu is entirely aware that the telescope breaking was in no way Jean and me's fault. Couldn't possibly scatter like it did just by holding it. However, she lashed out at Jean and me, one-sidedly, blaming her for it. Isuzu has no doubt that Jean and me is mad at her. She wants nothing further to do with her. Yo told her that Jean and me wanted to apologize, however, she can't bring herself to believe that Yo said that out of anything but kindness for her. Isuzu believes Jean and me doesn't consider her friend anymore. She has no one to blame for that but her own self. Jean and me is completely in the right. The fault rests solely on Isuzu's shoulders. So if she is in the wrong, then what kind of face should she make when apologizing? When telling her she'd like to go back to being friends?
教えてよ誰か
Unable to hold them back, tears begin to stream down her face, and I'm in fucking pain! Keenly, she thinks. If she had known things would turn out this way, she should have never become friends with Jean and me. She should have never fallen in love with Yo. She has only repeated her past mistakes. There she is now, left hurt again.
やだよ先輩
With the same wound having been gouged, she's deeper hurt than before.
離れたくないよ先輩
Hence, there is no way she can bear these feelings any longer. On leaving the house, the sound of quick footsteps entered my ears. Same morning situation as yesterday. Spotting me, Isuzu ran up to me.
おはようございます
She came to a halt and greeted me gingerly, as if to carefully gauge what I was thinking. Morning, Isuzu. Upon greeting her back, a smile bloomed on her face.
今日はいい天気ですね
She wasted no time in striking up idle talk. In light of what had transpired yesterday, I had been prepared to be avoided by her, actually. True, it's beautiful out.
夜はきっと星が綺麗ですよね
Yeah, no doubt.
今日はテンクルの天体観測の日ですよねとても楽しみですね
Usually Suzu would have never said something like that. She didn't stop smiling. She was forcing herself to act cheerful.
先輩は部活出ますよね。天体観測出ますよね。
No matter how you'd look at her, this was only a facade. She didn't want me to hate her. She didn't want me to leave her. She wanted me to be there for her. Those heartfelt feelings that were conveyed to me so vividly. That was far more than I deserved right now. So desperately wanted to just hug her here and now, thank her honestly for falling in love with me. But I knew that I couldn't do that just yet. I wasn't the only one who cherished her. I wasn't the only one who loved her.
先輩が天体観測するなら私も。
Sorry. Face stiffened. I can't come tonight. I'll be busy all throughout the day. Trepidation surfaced on her stiffened face.
私やっぱり
Her voice was weak to the point that even the slightest gust of wind would drown it out.
先輩に嫌われたんですか？もう恋人じゃないんですか？
No, that's not the case. Could say so with confidence, and yet.
じゃあなんで？
Honest to God, if he just said something along the line of "I'm trying to fix things," it would be enough. Like, don't just leave her hanging like this. Like, if you don't want to tell her for the sake of cheating me, like, okay. But at least say something like, it's to help get rid of the awkwardness or something like that. Just, you know, don't fucking hurt my soul like this. No matter how hard I tried, I could only give her hollow words like that. She tightly shut her eyes.
嫌です。
Tears streamed down her face.
嫌だ。嫌です。
She cried quietly. She was so feeble and distraught right now, it might literally hurt to look at her. I don't know who it was that first suggested she looked like a hamster or some small animal, but right now that was the exact picture I have of her. Through the course of her life, she'd been obstinately building a wall between her and her peers. Once that wall had crumbled down, she had no means of protecting herself. She couldn't protect her fragile heart. She was in no state to build another. So now there was nothing to keep her from getting hurt, making her suffer.
すみません。
She turned away, not wanting me to see her tear-stained
今朝の
face.
私は変みたいです。今までも変でしたけど、もっと変みたいです。私、先学校
Whoops.
行きます。一人でも大丈夫ですから。一人は慣れてますから。
She ran off, but up the hill without looking back even once. Someone as scummy as me won't even chase after her, have any right to call herself her boyfriend. You know me. That's right, it's me who might reach my limit of what I can take. Do you think what we're doing is really the right thing? Please tell me, Gina me. Don't end up fixing this. I won't let you off with just a noogie.
ようさん、ちなみさんは
When I got back down from Jinami's room, Suzuha had been in the living room waiting to ask me that. In her room, she'll come down in a bit.
用事なんですよね。
Right.
何の用事なんですか？
Suzuha looked worried, except when at school and when we eat, we'd been shutting ourselves in Jinami's room all day.
ようさんとちなみさんの用事って何なんですか？
Well, you helped with it too, didn't you? She stood her head questioningly. Don't you remember how we gathered up the fragments on the rooftop back then? Looked like that immediately clued her in.
あれってお掃除したんじゃ。
Not just that.
じゃあお部屋に持ち帰って。
Yeah, we're doing a little tinkering with
ちょ
them.
っとじゃないと思います。
She was right. We used up all our free time over almost 3 days
や
now.
っぱりお姉ちゃん
Don't tell her.
どうしてですか？お姉ちゃん。すごく元気なくって。私の前では普通に振る舞おうとしてるけど。
Knew that Isuzu was pushing herself. That was how important we were to her. Far more than the two of us had ever thought. If we realized that sooner, maybe there would have been a different way to go about it. But it was too late to backtrack now. Just asked that you give us a little more time. Wishingly so, I answered directly at Suzuha and also the ceiling. While looking up at Chinami, who was inside a room on the second floor, working while sparing no time for sleep. I do honest to God want us all to have dinner together again. Since there was no school the following day, there was no need to worry about Chinami sleeping in. We could work all throughout the night. We didn't have the time for sleep until this was finished. Need to reclaim our everyday life as soon as possible.
眠ってしまったみたいですね。連日空が白むまで頑張っていたから疲れているんですね。いくら好きな子のためと言っても体は大切にしてください。そのままで寝ると風邪をひきますよ。おやすみなさい。起こすことはしません。私は見守るものですから。それがあの人との約束だから。
Is that mom again? Or am I just going insane? After waking up with a jolt, I checked the current time. The hour hand on the clock pointed to 4. It was still dark outside, but the next day had long since started. Looked like I fell asleep when I was working on it. I'd gotten essentially zero sleep over the course of the past 3 days. There was also exhaustion, but maybe it was also because I allowed myself to feel relaxed since there was no school tomorrow. But not me, considering you aren't done yet. The object on the table was telling me that we'd still not yet crossed our finish line. Readying myself to get back to work, I stretched out my hand when something then fell off my shoulders. A jacket. It's the one I wear when I go outside. Did I have this on when I came to her room?
ちなみ、ねむねむじゃないから頑張るね。
Her eyes perfectly closed, Chinami was moving her hands through empty air, believing she was working. Can't blame her, she usually gets around 10 hours of sleep at night. Despite that, she'd been working with almost as little sleep as me, eager to finish. I lifted her up in my arms and laid her down on her bed. She had her hands still outstretched in the air, so I pushed those under her blanket. Now then, back to work. But right as I was about to do so, I spotted someone.
優しいんですね。
I was startled. It's like I'd just seen a ghost.
ちなみさんは君のような兄に守られて幸せなんでしょうね。
Who the fuck are you? That's a scythe! Are you the new one? There was a girl standing there. Hold on. Let me just I don't know who she was. No, when she'd gotten here. She was holding a huge scythe, unbefitting her small stature, looking at me with a composed expression.
いつもちなみさんを助けていただきありがとうございます。
In contrast to her extremely young appearance, her language and tone were calm. Is it a case of every fucking person has their own personal goddamn Reaper? Is that it? I don't know who or what she was, but the image that popped into my mind was Mare. The way she acted older than her age was similar to Mare too, and above all, that scythe spoke volumes. It told me that she was a Grim Reaper.
まだ寝ていてもいいんですよ。少しでも休んだ方が作業もはかどると思いますから。
When I was about to say something, I sensed movement at the edge of my
ちな
vision.
み、ねむねむじゃないから頑張るね。
Chinami came crawling out of her bed like a zombie. The mysterious girl poked Chinami's forehead with her scythe shaft. Chinami instantly collapsed on her bed. What are you doing?
お休みさせました。今は、ちなみさんには、あまり姿を見られたくありませんから。
Jinami showed no indication of moving. It would appear she was completely out for the count. But who are you? The little girl maintained a smile on her face. Grim Reaper?
君の言う死神というのは、娘星の子のことですね。
They're the fucking like celestial, like the fucking. They're the fucking like celestials, like deity things. What?
深く考える必要はありません。これは、夢ですから。
Dream.
君がもう一度眠れば、私との出会いは、夢だと思うだろうということです。
But isn't that basically saying this isn't a dream?
だから、深く考える必要はないんです。
Was she trying to gloss over the fact? So, who are you?
名前を聞いているんですか？
There are also other things I'd like to ask you, but let's start with that.
レンです。
Ren.
ちなみに偽名です。
Same as
名
Mare.
前は、ふるさとに置いてきましたから。
Say, are you Mare's sister or something?
あの子には弟がいますけど、あの子自身は忘れていると思います。
So it really is a case of like these deities are actually dead people or something, I guess.
長旅で、途方もなく長い旅の中で、記憶は星に帰りますから、私も名前だけじゃない。ふるさとにいた頃をよく覚えていませんから。
I was finding myself more and more lost.
記憶がないから、拠り所を求めるんです。私たちは、約束を求めるんです。ですから今の私は、見守るものなんです。ちなみさんを、見守るものなんです。あの人と、そういう約束を交わしたから。
Confusion wasn't going anywhere.
考えないでください。どうせ夢ですから。
Well, I can't really just do that at a drop of a hat.
納得できないなら、守護霊とでも思ってください。これまでも、陰ながら見守っていましたから。ちなみさんが1学期のテストで、赤点をギリギリで回避したのは、私が手を加えたためですから。深夜の教務室に、こっそりと忍び込んで、答案をちょいっと。
I don't know if you'd call that watching over her. You're just coddling her hopelessly.
ダメ人間。キスクソ。
What's with that laughter?
私、ダメ人間フェチなんです。
What? Kinda creepy, you just come out and say something like that.
ダメ可愛い人が好きなんです。
Phrasing it differently doesn't make it any better.
特に恋に溺れる人間のダメさ加減は、垂涎ものです。
Doesn't that kind of make you the hopeless one? Sorry, I mean, doesn't that kind of make you the hopeless one?
そのためこれまでも、様々なダメ人間を見てきましたが、ちなみさんは逸材だと思います。
I try to piss me off or something.
ちなみさんが好きな君だから、これ以上は控えます。その好きが恋じゃないのが残念ですけど。
Just for information, the one I'm in love with is Isuzu.
はい。わかっています。
She was still smiling, but it felt like her smile had become more
君
pronounced.
と、いすずさんのこと、応援しますよ。ダメなところ、たくさんあるから。ダメなところ、たくさんあっても、何よりちなみさんも、君たちのこと、応援すると思いますから。私はちなみさんと一緒に、君たちの恋も、見守りたいって思うんです。
brief moment, the starlight shining through the gap between the curtains darkened, and simultaneously the Grim Reaper girl called Ren vanished from my sight. What in the world did I just see? Even the way she left resembles Mare. I looked around, but she really was gone for good. I shrugged it off and resumed work. My reason for not giving in to my sleepiness was not because I didn't want to let my encounter with the den become a dream. It was because I wanted to reclaim Isuzu's smile as quickly as possible.
お兄ちゃん、お兄ちゃん、見て見て、お兄ちゃん。
Having woken up, Chinami suddenly started to make a ruckus.
ちなみ、いつの間にか眠ってたのに作業が進んでるよ。これってきっと妖精さんが手伝ってくれたんだよね。
No, can't you see me right in the process of working on it, bird brain?
寝起きにグリグリはきつすぎるよ、お兄ちゃん。
Well, there really was a fairy, though.
本当に?
Nope. I stretched my back and rotated my arms around to loosen my stiffened shoulders. Go wash your face so we can have breakfast.
食べたらすぐ作業開始だね。
We had to finish this today at all costs. The end was finally within sight. Aoi Isuzu's cell phone rings from its position on her desk. She had been listlessly sitting on her chair and doing star divinations, but immediately she extends her hand towards it and checks who the caller is. It is the very person she had hoped it to be. Yo is calling her, but Isuzu can't bring herself to answer the call. She had waited to hear from him. She wanted to hear his voice so badly she could hardly take it, yet she could only sit and let it ring. Her hand was shaking as it holds the phone. Eventually the ringing stops. Only a moment after, regret washes over and she flips open her phone. Knowing he'd pick up right away if she were to call him back now, she lays her fingers over the call button. But she can't push it. She feels like crying. For noticing that, she actually is.
先輩。
Yesterday at lunch break, she had waited for him in the courtyard again, but he didn't come. He didn't show up at the club either. Neither did he come to the stargazing session. She had even considered going over to his place, thinking that they must all be having dinner together right now. She pondered whether to also join in, but ultimately she couldn't bring herself to do anything. The fear of being rejected once again prevented her from doing anything. The thought of him coming to hate her even more than he did now was so terrifying that it rooted her body in place. She couldn't go see him. Neither can she call him. That is why she stays holed up in a room like this. And it's almost evening. She thinks about how Suzuha is probably already at their house. She thinks about the fun they're having.
私も一緒がいい。
And fucking do it! Just just surprised. She just looks around. What the fuck happened? She just looks through a window, and he's just like in the fucking just barely still on this window. So please fucking, oh, help me here. You didn't fucking answer the phone, so I had to do this.
みんなと一緒にいたいよ。
Listen, I need to make jokes like that before depression fucking gets me. All alone by herself, Isuzu continuously did star divination until she drew the lovers in the upright position. Her cell phone begins to ring once again. Isuzu wipes her eyes with her hand to clear her blurry vision and then gazes at the display. This time it's a text message. A message from Yo. Would you like to come see the stars with us now? Come over to Hibari High if you're down to. I want you to open the door to the rooftop. We're waiting for you. Isuzu flips her cell phone shut. Now means before dinner. The days are short around this time of year and the temperature is low, so we're comfortable to get ready once evening comes around and then get going right after nightfall. Give it another 30 minutes, one would start to see the sunset. Perhaps everyone is already there.
先輩が待ってる。
However,
いけない。
her heart is screaming for her to go, but her body does not move.
いけないんだよ。
She can't help but end up thinking that maybe, just maybe, he'll lash out at her there on the rooftop. But maybe seeing the stars is only a pretext and he actually means to summon her there to tell her off for having hurt Jean and me. But the fact that they are no longer friends will be shoved right before her face. She fears getting hurt. She's frightened to an unfathomable degree. Now that she has repeated the same mistake as before, she can't take it anymore. If getting involved with someone contains therein the possibility of getting hurt, then solitude is infinitely better. It isn't something she particularly enjoys, but if she has no choice but to take in solitude, she will. After all, being alone only brings loneliness. Getting hurt brings a world of pain. She tells herself she won't make friends ever again. She'll give up on romantic relationships. She'll give up on love.
お姉ちゃん
Hearing Suzu's voice, Isuzu raises her face, wet from all the crying.
ごめんなさい。ノックしても返事がなかったから。
Suzu had entered her room. The message said they'd go stargazing, so Isuzu had thus figured Suzu wasn't at home.
お姉ちゃん、ヨウさんから連絡あった？
Isuzu can't turn to face her, nor answer her either. He doesn't want her to see this tear-stained face, and she's likely to sob should she open her mouth, so she can't speak
今日
either.
ね、これからみんなで星見するんだよ。お姉ちゃんにも来てほしいってみんな思ってるんだよ。お姉ちゃんは来ないの？
Isuzu still can't
ひば
answer.
りが崎からじゃ南天の星空は見えないから来ないの？
That was not Isuzu's reason. Starry Sky of her childhood was no longer part of the equation. For now, she has something much more important. She has a person she loves.
私は南天の星空って覚えてない。私も向こうに住んでたけど赤ん坊の時だからほとんど覚えてない。だからお姉ちゃんの気持ちがわからない。だけどね、わかるの。わかることもあるの。家族がひばりが崎に引っ越してきたのは私のせいってこと。私のせいでお姉ちゃんは南天の星空を見上げることができなくなったってこと。南天の星空が思い出になったんだってこと。
Isuzu tried to say something. She had to. However, her tearful voice that gets close to leaking out gets in the way, rendering her unable to form any
ごめんな
words.
さい。ごめんなさい。お姉ちゃん。
The voice she had finally managed to squeeze out was hoarse, and she couldn't continue. Suzu was rubbing both her eyes.
お姉ちゃん。
Saying those words, she directed a beaming smile at
みんな
Isuzu.
でひばりが崎の星空を見上げよう。お姉ちゃんに新しい思い出作ってほしいから。
It was right when the sun had set that Isuzu, taken along by Isuzu, showed up at school. The key opened up our path. But his eyes' rooftop was dyed in a blazing red. Since our eyes were red and exhausted, we felt so all the more. Gino and I were sleep deprived, and Isuzu's eyes were most likely red because our tear-swollen eyes were our sin. Isuzu, putting my wish, my feelings too. If only ever so slightly make up for what I'd done into words, I said to her. I'm sorry for what we put you through. I'm sorry I left you on your own. She said nothing in response. I don't want her to leave me. I want to spend a moment apart from her. Never for a second had I ever thought of letting her go. Getting the telescope for stargazing already took us some time, you see. He wanted you to be the first to use it. It doesn't look very pretty, so I won't blame you if you don't want to use it. But still, we wanted you to look up at the Ibarigasaki's starry sky using that telescope. I wanted you to gaze up at the starry sky we love so much.
Aoi-chan.
Yeah, I can't believe this'll yield a good stargazing experience, quite frankly. I know, it's just instinct, you know. Chinami stepped out from behind me. In both her hands, she had Isuzu's telescope that we'd finished
葵
repairing.
ちゃんがちなみに貸してくれた望遠鏡返すね。ちょっと形が変わっちゃったかもしれないけど。
The day the telescope broke apart, after Isuzu left, we gathered up the scattered fragments of the roof of the telescope. Following that, we brought them back to Chinami's
継
room.
ぎはぎだらけで不格好かもしれないけど。
The two of us had been hard at work repairing it all this time. Upon getting back from school, we worked on it until the subsequent morning came. During lunch breaks, we also went back home and continued our
レン
progress.
ズだけは難しくてすごく細かく粉々になっちゃってて、他の部分と違ってくっつけられなくて。
The one thing this patched up telescope was missing was a
だけど
lens.
後で買うからね。ちなみの小豚貯金箱は空っぽだけど、お小遣い貯めて必ずレンズ買うからね。それまで待っててくれると嬉しいな。
With a smile on her face, Chinami presented the telescope to Isuzu. Isuzu made no move to take it. She simply stood there completely dumbfounded, still trying to process what was happening. With regards to the repair of the telescope, it was entirely Chinami's idea. At first I was opposed to it. I was skeptical we'd be able to do something that painstakingly difficult. I almost didn't want to fathom just how hard it would be to gather up all the pieces of the shattered telescope. Just the sheer tenacity would require to put all those back together. Even then, just putting them back together wasn't enough. The fundamental part of the telescope was already broken. Repairing still wouldn't allow you to see the stars with it. The fact that Chinami nevertheless insisted on finishing it, only the difficulty spoke to her of her strength as a person. The fact that she didn't dare whine even once, despite knowing it broke completely out of her control, spoke to her kindness. She was constantly fighting with the fear and anxiety of not knowing whether Isuzu would forgive her, even if she did give her the repaired telescope. Chinami never folded at any point throughout. She believed in Isuzu, a friend until the very end.
言ってくれてもよかったのに。
Those were the first words she
直
spoke.
してるんだったら私に言ってくれても。違うんだよ葵ちゃん。これは直したんじゃないんだよ。ただくっつけただけなんだよ。くっつけるだけでもちなみは自信がなかったんだよ。ちなみはとっても不器用だからうまくできるかわからなかったんだよ。お兄ちゃんが手伝ってくれてもちなみは足引っ張るの得意だからどうなるかわからなかったんだよ。なのに先に葵ちゃんに教えちゃって、もしできなかったとしたら葵ちゃんを落胆させるだけだから、葵ちゃんをまた傷つけるだけだから、もう傷つけたくないから、傷ついて欲しくないから。どうしてそんなことが言えるの？傷つけたのは私なのに、傷ついたのはちなみさんなのに、ちなみさんは悪くないのに、悪いのは私なのに。いいとか悪いとかちなみにはよくわからないんだよ。考えてもよくわからないんだよ。ちなみは考えるの苦手だから、難しいことわからないから。ちなみはやりたかったからやっただけなんだよ。だってね、ちなみは葵ちゃんのことが好きだからやっただけだったんだよ。だからどうしてそんなことが言えるの？葵ちゃんが不思議がるのちなみにはわからないんだよ。葵ちゃんは鈴葉ちゃんのためにひばりが崎に引っ越してきたんだよね。だけど葵ちゃんは鈴葉ちゃんを恨んでないんだよね。当たり前じゃない。鈴葉を恨むわけないじゃない。 だから不思議なんだよ。同じなのに葵ちゃんが鈴葉ちゃんを好きなようにちなみも葵ちゃんが好きなんだよ。葵ちゃんはちなみの友達だから。それだけじゃないよ。葵ちゃんはお兄ちゃんの恋人だから。ちなみもね、お兄ちゃんのこと好きだけど。
More speak! Oh, I can't zoom here.
葵ちゃんもお兄ちゃんのことが好きだから。同じだから。同じみたいでちょっと違うから。ちなみは恋ってよくわからないけど、葵ちゃんは恋なんだって思うから。だからお兄ちゃんのことお願いね。よろしくお願いします。二人のことちなみは見守っているからね。いつまでも見守っているからね。ちなみさん、私もちなみさんのこと好き。ちなみさんと友達でいたい。ずっと友達だよ。最初から友達だよ。ちなみたちは今だって友達なんだよ。ありがとう。ちなみさんと友達になれてよかった。ちなみもよかったって思ってるよ。ちなみと友達になってくれてありがとう。お兄ちゃんを好きになってくれてありがとう。お兄ちゃんと恋人になってくれてありがとう。だって二人のおかげでちなみたちは友達だけじゃない家族にだってなれるんだから。
When you look through the cobbled together telescope, you no longer sees darkness. The telescope, which didn't have anything pass through its lens and had its life taken by age, now clearly shows you Barigasaki's starry sky. Been a while, but we finally have dinner with everyone together again. After keeping Chinami and Suzuha company for a while after eating, I invited Isuzu into my room. It had also been a while since it was just the two of us, no ruffle or excitement.
望遠鏡なんですけど。
We left the cobbled together telescope down in the living
ど
room.
うして直そうなんて思ったんですか？
Because she cares about you.
そういう答えじゃなくて、
Embarrassed, she casts her eyes down.
もともと壊れてた望遠鏡なのに。
Well, I reckon Chinami decided to fix it because she thought she broke it.
それだったら
Even if it wasn't her fault, she would have wanted to fix it. That's because to her, you're a friend.
なのに私ちなみさんにひどいこと。
Don't mind that, Chinami understands your feelings. Which is why she and Suzuha can still smile.
じゃあ先輩は？
Me?
はい、先輩はどうしてちなみさんを手伝ったんですか？ちなみさんと一緒に望遠鏡を直してくれたんですか？
Well, that's the job I wanted to succeed. That's what I decided. That I succeed at the wish that was entrusted to me by my father. I wished for Isuzu to not only gaze up at the starry sky of the south, but also the starry sky of Ibarigasaki. The telescope and rooftop key he gave Isuzu spoke volumes about that.
わかりませんけど。
In short, it just means I love you.
またそんなこと言って。
She's really cute when she gets all bashful like this. All the more so since she's usually not like
継
this.
ぎはぎの望遠鏡はあのままでいいと思います。
He says, as if to change the subject.
レンズは 買わなくていいですから、ちなみさんにもそう伝えてほしいです。
Are you sure?
はい。ひばりが崎の星空が見えたから十分です。
Oh, well, that makes me glad to
は
hear.
い。
Next, I'd like you to use the carrying case we got for you in the club.
いいんですか？
Sure is. I mean, we bought it for you. As I sit down on my bed, Isuzu sits down next to me, then put my arm around her shoulders and embrace her. And then they fucked. Since I was so heavily sleep-deprived, all I wanted now was some sleep. I told her so, upon which she replied she could stay the night. We were still in the weekend, and since Suzuha was sleeping down in the living room anyways, she said she might as well. I took a shower and returned to my room again. Since there was nothing she could use for pajamas, Isuzu slipped under the blanket naked. Thanks for the warning, game. She stressed that I mustn't look in the meantime. Yeah, I can't show that. I just barely can't show that. It just barely would have been okay, but you can just barely still see Nip. We both laid on my bed. If there was an option to increase the opacity on the fucking... Hold on, let me just... Fuck, how do I do this? Open the menu. There we go. Now I get rid of this and this. Now I grab my... where the fuck did my webcam go? That was odd. Now I just grab this and put it here. Perfect. We both laid down on my bed. Isuzu clung on to me tightly, so I embraced her back. You aren't cold?
はい。あったかいから。
Right, it really is. We felt the heat of our skin press up against each other. There was no distance separating our naked bodies. Did you call your parents?
さっきしておきました。急だったので怒られました。
Well, I guess I should apologize
い
for
え、
that.
しのさんからも話してもらいましたし。
To back me up is being covered.
それに
She knows her chest, her cheek
あっ
against me.
たかいからいいんです。
Warmth is being covered. Not warm, huh?
はい。
Just like a little hamster.
嫌いです。
Well, we'll have to go back to club on Monday.
私は昨日はちゃんと出ました。サボったのは先輩の方です。
Skipped is being covered. Yeah, sorry about that. She rubbed her cheek against me
あった
again.
かいから許します。
I'll let you off is being covered. You little hamster.
嫌いです。
I would appreciate it if you could come to club every day from now on. You can't come if you don't feel like it. Casting her eyes somewhat down, she muttered.
館長からもらった屋上の鍵、私ひばり校に返そうと思うんです。そのためだったんじゃないかって思うんです。私が鍵を手にした理由。
Turns out the truth of that incident. His dad just saw her as a kid and was like, I'm gonna hook her up with my son later in life.
私の手からひばり校に渡って最後にテンクルに託される。
Astro Circle's being covered.
テンクルがいつでも屋上を使用できるようになる。
Rooftop whenever is being covered.
たくさん活動ができるようになる。私自身も決別するために悪夢にとらわれるんじゃない。私の道しるべとなる夢として、そうなるようにテンクルに出ようって思うんです。
I just noticed the naming scheme. Mare, Nightmare, Yume. Please don't tell me that's what's actually gonna, like, go for.
北上の常時解放を目指そうって思うんです。
Rooftop open whenever is being covered.
ひばりが崎の星空を見上げようって思うんです。
Roll credits. Roll credits. Immediately skip. I don't want to get another fucking email about my goddamn video being demonetized or being copyright claimed, despite my video's not even having monetization on it. It took an hour of driving, 1 hour of guide's cruiser to arrive. Oh, they're going to the Australias. The horizon and wilderness had folded around us in 360 degrees. My eyes were full of awe upon seeing such a majestic scenery. That colourless prairie and reddish-brown land, the dryness of the air, was much more desolate than I imagined. All of the trees were leafless, with their ashen barks all wrinkled up. A huge bird silently soared above us in the sky. We started to climb up along the installed chain. Even where the chain wasn't present, it was awfully steep. I made sure to never let go of her hand. The peak we then finally reached was extensive. Below us was a desert landscape, littered here and there with plants and rock. In the distance stretched out a settlement of aboriginals. The wind that blew at the mountaintop felt cold when you'd worked up a sweat, so she snuggled up to me. Eventually, the sun began to sink, starting with the mountaintops orange, gradually colored. Starting with the mountain's top, orange gradually colored the rock until finally the whole mountain was glowing in a fiery red. However, that spectacle only lasted for a brief moment, before the mountain immediately became swallowed by twilight. The vast monochrome sight nearly made you lose your sense of distance. The sight before me both looked and felt surreal. What was far seemed near, and what was near seemed far. It was like an ocean of stars. We stood at the bottom of that ocean and basked in blessing light as we showered in blessing light we were showered with. What we were looking at was the view of the starry sky at Ayers Rock. This man really fucking did it. There really are a lot of parallels between her and Sora. Along with the one of the final CGs being them going abroad to some place that's fucking prime real estate for stargazing. Again, this soundtrack reminds me a lot of Sentinels of the Sky. The center of the world, which is sometimes referred to as the navel of the world. Apparently the sunrise is also a breathtaking sight here, but we unhesitatingly chose a time frame where we could see the stars.
南天の星空、オーロラが見える思い出の星空。子供の頃はいくら手を伸ばしても決して届かなかったけど、今はたとえ届かなくてもあの頃よりは近くなったと思います。またこうして見上げることができたんですから。
I was now in my final year in Ibari High, and Isuzu was now a second year. We decided we'd use my last winter break at Ibari High to go on a vacation to Australia. I suppose back at Ibari Gasuki they were enjoying a white Christmas about now, but here it was still right in the middle of summer. I saved up enough to make this possible with my money from working at the Milky Way. We decided that we'll stop here before going on to see the observatory Isuzu's parents used to work at. I guess we're pretty lucky there just happened to be an aurora.
日本ほどじゃなくてもとても珍しいですから。天文台じゃなくて世界の中心で見たのは私も初めてですから。
It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so why not shout out your love for me?
死んだらいいと思います。
Would you also spread my ashes?
そんな質問嫌いです。
Isuzu tightened her grip on my
意
hand.
地悪な先輩は大嫌いです。
Right overhead were twinkling stars and a band of light that we couldn't hope to see in Hibarigasaki. Next to us, we had the cobbled-together telescope, the case we had received from the Astro Circle protecting it. I'm sure all the others at the club would really be glad if we took some pictures of the sky for them. We could even submit one to a competition,
去
maybe.
年は結局出られませんでしたよね。
We did manage to get the rooftop open permanently, though, so at least we have that going for us. Getting to see auroras in Japan is a rare occurrence in and of itself, so there was no telling when we'd actually be able to see an aurora. An aurora in Hibarigasaki. So maybe I'll just have to leave that to our successor in the Astro Circle.
写真は先輩に任せます。私は望遠鏡で覗くだけで十分です。そうするだけで私は決して忘れません。テンクルの後輩たちに南天の星空を語って聞かせることができます。次期部長として語り継がせることができます。南天の星空とひばりが崎の星空の両方とも。だって私は大好きな星空の下に立っている。これからも先輩と一緒に。
Love you, Susan.
はい。私も先輩のことが好き。
I feel like I continuously typed her name as Isuzu. I keep mixing up the S and the Z, basically.
だから絶対大丈夫。大好きな人と一緒に大好きな星空をこれからも見上げることができるんですから。だから私は先輩のことが大好きです。
Even I can tell what the fuck that meant. Anyways, so Isuzu was roughly like here. Now she's fucking here. She's shot to the fucking top. God, pain though. Anyways, I still have plenty of time, so might as well do the fucking route setup. I'll do it in a separate video though, so yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the people who are gonna leave off here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you next time. For the people who still want to see the next, I'll be right back.